So much and welcome everybody. I hope you're having the most glorious day, and I'm just thrilled to be here with you halfway around the world. I'm located in Calgary, Canada, nestled right up against the Rocky Mountains. So if you ever decide you want to come skiing, this is the place you have to come visit. Okay. It would be wonderful to have you come and visit, and I intend to come to India at some point in time and visit as well. Once this crazy pandemic thing is all wrapped up, hopefully I can do that. Certainly happy to be here with you. And today's session, in fact, is called How to Ikigai. And basically, this session is only going to have you consider and think about two very, very important questions. All right. So the questions are simply this: what do you love to do? And the second question is, what am I good at? What do you love to do and what are you good at? Those are the two questions that we want to explore, because that is the essence of Ikigai. And essentially, Ikigai, I'll explain a little bit more as we go along. I do want to point out, though, that bear with me if I have to mute my microphone every now and then. Up until just yesterday, I was in the hospital with a case of pneumonia. So I hope you'll be able to stand it if I'm able to just kind of have a little break every now and then just to clear my throat, like now, for example. So what do you love to do and what are you good at? To start off this presentation, I want to point out that I'm going to be using two words that I'm sure you're familiar with, but I'm going to use them in a different context than what you might be familiar with. The two words are job and work, okay? Job in this case of us in this session today means that it's a paid position of regular employment. In other words, this is something that you do every day in order to be able to take care of your basic needs. It's labor in exchange for money. All right. Work, on the other hand, work is something that is defined in dictionary.com as an activity involving mental or physical effort done in order to achieve a purpose or result. And work, in this case today anyways, you are your work. Your life's purpose is your work. So job means what you get paid for. You are your work. You're trying to achieve something, a greater purpose or a result. So why don't we know what our purpose is or what our Ikigai is? Well, here's a little picture of little Timmy when he was just in the first grade. And that was in 1971, a very, very long time ago. But apparently I like wearing yellow because I was wearing yellow then, and it looks like I'm wearing yellow today as well. So when we were kids, though, we knew what our work was. We knew what our purpose was. In fact, we'd get up every morning and we knew exactly what it is that we wanted to do. It's because we were born with a certain set of instructions, and it was just survival. It was a part of the way that we just kind of needed to go through a process to be able to understand the world, okay? So our work when we were children and through our teenagehood was just based on these simple facts. And psychologists will tell you this is the fact as well. When you were an infant, your only work was to just be. And that meant that you just had to exist. Mom and dad would take care of pretty well everything else. If you needed to let them know that you were hungry, you would cry. If you needed to know that your nappy needed to be changed, you would cry. That was as simple as that. But then as you grew older, your work changed. As you grew older, it was your job, or sorry, your work was to do. Your work was to explore the world and to try absolutely everything you could. So that would be, when you're a little 2 or 3 year old, that might mean that you just kind of run away from mom and dad without even thinking, but you're doing it in order to be able to explore the world and to try things out. And then as you grew older, your work changed once again. Your work as a primary school child was to follow rules. Now, if you've ever spent any time with a child when they're 6 or 7 years old, you'll notice that they really want to stick by the rules. They really want to be able to do things according to what the adults tell them, because they're just learning the rules and they want to stay right directly in the lane of those rules. But when you get to be in junior high, that's when the rules start to be pushed. So your work as a junior high student, as a young teenager, is to push the rules as far as you can in order to be able to understand how far the boundaries are without you breaking them, completely breaking them, getting into trouble. And then the last part of your work as a child is when you're in high school, and that is when you're kind of an older adult, 16, 17, 18 years old. Your work then is to be seen. And that is all just human development, really. If you can be seen by as many potential prospects to be able to maybe make other human beings at some point in time, that is your body basically doing the work that it's supposed to be doing. So those are the 5 jobs, or sorry, that is your work. See, I even get it mixed up every now and then. Those are the 5 types of work that you need to be doing as a child. And we all do that instinctively. However, this is when things get a little crazy. When you're in high school, there comes a day when you're going to exit school, and something very interesting starts to happen. And I'm sure this happens around the world. You've gained some independence. You may have had some jobs outside of school. You may have had a little bit of extra room to be able to move around with your friends and have some freedom and to explore the world on your own. But when you're in high school and exiting high school to go into the real world, something really profound happens. Adults start asking you a very important question. And it can be an overwhelming question. What are you going to do now? This is an incredibly difficult question for anybody to answer, whether you're a full-fledged adult, or especially if you're a young teenaged person. If you're 17, 18, 19 years old, and somebody asks you that profound question, you feel compelled almost to be able to answer it in a way that is meaningful. But the fact remains is that as young children, or as children growing up to 17, 18, 19 years old, the fact remains is that you don't have a lot of life experience. You don't have the opportunity to be able to fully understand what it is that you want to do in the world. Until now, we've been following the rules of grown-ups, and that can create some challenges for us. So we enter what I call the guess and follow through plan of life. And that is, once you graduate or move on from schooling, you get to the point where you say, okay, now I have to become a full-fledged grown-up. I'm going to take a guess and see if I can guess right. So a lot of times people are required by their families, or I know that there's a lot of young people that just choose to go right to university, right directly after high school. That's an extraordinarily expensive way to be able to take on the guess and follow through plan. But statistics show that only around 23% of people who actually go to university work within the field that they study in. So, so the guess and follow through plan might even be a challenge in terms of your wallet, but also in terms of what you're learning and how you're going to put it to use. The reason why we're going to university and taking on jobs in order to be paid is because we are preparing ourselves for something that we call our deficiency needs, okay? That deficiency needs statement is something really important in terms of what Ikigai is. And I'll explain that for you right now. Bear with me. So the career guessing in my case meant that I would go out into the world. This is the 1980s, mind you. This is when I was young and very, very skinny and had very long hair. I'll show you a picture coming up here right away. But essentially, the career guessing portion of my life was that I would work at a petrol station. I sold clothing at a men's retail outfit. I also worked on highways. I built roads for something called the Alberta Transportation Company. And that was my way of exploring the world. I was 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. And it was a challenging time, because I believed that my entire existence was built on the idea of going out and finding the best paying job in the world. And that was going to lead me through life. I felt like money was the thing that was going to be the propellant for my entire life. But an interesting thing happened. When I turned 21 years old, there's me with that glorious haircut. I hope that's bringing a smile to your face right now. I wish I had hair. When I turned 21 years old, I realized something. And I remember this day like it was yesterday. I remember waking up one Saturday morning in my little single bed at my parents' home and thinking to myself, boy, am I ever glad that I don't have to go to my job today. Because the job was, even though it was a good job, it paid $8 an hour back in 1986, which was a lot of money back then. I was unfulfilled by it. It didn't have a spark about it. But I laid there in the morning thinking to myself, I wonder if it's even possible to live a life where we are able to be happy in the things that we choose to do. I wonder if there's a way that we could do things that we love as opposed to just doing things that we have to. And therein lied the entire change of my existence. And basically what I chose to do on that day, and I remember this physically, I sat up in bed as straight as an arrow and I went, I'm going to study music. That's what I was passionate about. That was what I was really excited about. And at that moment, my complete life changed because I decided that I was only going to do what I love to do and what I was good at. So remember, I said that we were preparing for our deficiency needs a few slides back. When I was in my career guessing mode, I was basically working to fulfill my deficiency needs. And what I mean by that is basically comprised in this little photo from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is a theory from Abraham Maslow, who was a very acclaimed psychologist and probably the pioneer of something called positive psychology. And basically what Maslow created is this little pyramid that explains the human condition on a daily basis. And by the way, if anybody is interested, pardon me, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is part of any introductory university program or a psychology program. But basically what this pyramid means is that there are 5 layers to our daily needs. Our daily needs, keep that in mind. The first layer is that we have physiological needs. We have needs to be able to have food and water and shelter, okay? If we don't have those things, then it becomes a big problem for us on a daily basis. So we focus on making sure we take care of those types of things. The next layer is something called safety needs. In other words, we have to be in a place where we feel secure and safe and that we will come to no harm. Beyond that, we also need love and belonging. So we need friendship and friends and family and connection with other people as well. And beyond that, we also have something that we call esteem needs. And those esteem needs really are our ego being able to say, okay, I identify as this person and this person does X or does Y, and that fulfills me. It helps to identify me as something beyond just a regular human being, so to speak. So those 4 needs are called your deficiency needs or your D needs. They're called deficiency needs because if you didn't have any of those each day, it would cause you great distress. So we have to achieve every single one of those things every single day, or we feel distress. Maslow also pointed out that there was also one more layer to this pyramid, though, and this is where Ikigai comes in. The top of the pyramid is something called self-actualization needs, or a being need. The challenge with Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid is that our being needs are often neglected on a daily basis. Why? It's because we focus on our deficiency needs. And once all of our deficiency needs on a daily basis are all checked off one by one, we often choose to not work on our self-actualization needs. So there is where Ikigai comes in. And I'll explain that a little bit more as we go along. So what is your work now as a full grown-up? Your work is to really just go through more steps as an adult, just like you did when you were an infant, a toddler, a preschooler, and a high schooler. You have work to do as well. That work is something that we often neglect, and that's just 3 steps. And that is to explore the world and to find the things that we love to do and that we're good at. Explore the things that we are passionate about and that really bring joy to us and that we can excel at on a regular basis. And then to, once you've kind of figured out a list of those types of things that you love to do and that you're good at, then you zero in even closer to identify the ones that really matter the most to you. So in other words, if you really love the idea of going out rock climbing or something along those lines, and you're really passionate about it, but once you get out there and you do the rock climbing, you go, you know what, it's not really the rock climbing that I'm passionate about. It's about the safety aspect of rock climbing. And I want to be able to be an expert in the idea of being a safety expert in terms of being a rock climber. So that is essentially the type of thing that you become passionate about. So you're zeroing in on the types of things that really matter to you, but can also help others. And then once you've taken the time to go out into the world and to explore all the things that you're passionate about, and you've eliminated the ones that you've only wanted to do one time, and you've zeroed in on a handful of things that you really, really enjoy and that you're good at, then you stop altogether and you give yourself enough time to ponder what it is that you really love to do and what you're good at. The pondering aspect is probably the most important because it carries with it the most power, and I'll tell you why. Because when you ponder something, when you stop thinking about something and you put it into your imagination, back into your subconscious has an incredible way to be able to figure it out for you on your behalf. Your subconscious is 1 million times more powerful than your conscious mind. And I'll give you an example of this. When you are in a place where maybe somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I want you to think about something about the job, and I'll need an answer on this here in a couple of days. You might say to them, sure, I'll think about it. But the thing is that there's a very good chance that you don't go back to the place where you work and do all your job, and you don't sit down and say, you know, Sanjeet asked me a question and I told him I would think about it. So now I'm going to think about it. So for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to think about it. And you sit there and you think about it. No, in fact, you've already assigned that power of thinking about it to your subconscious. So by the next time when Sanjeet comes up and says, did you think about this? you already have an answer because your subconscious took over for it. So explore, zero in, and ponder. Those are the 3 steps that are your work now to understand what it is that you're good at and what you love to do, the foundation of Ikigai. Ikigai, it's a beautiful word and it's a beautiful concept that comes from Okinawa, Japan. Okinawa, Japan is where my grandparents were born. And there's something in just the fact that they were born there on this tiny little island called Hamahiga Island. There's something in my DNA, I feel, that has propelled me throughout my life. And even as a young man and until now, when I've just turned 56 years old, I've always focused on just doing the things that I love to do and that I'm good at. So Ikigai is a word and a concept that is based on 2 words. Iki, which means your life, and then gai, which is your worth, your life's worth in a shell, so to speak. Ikigai. And I'm so excited to share this idea that Ikigai provides you with a map for how you can figure it out. You still have to go through those steps of exploring and zeroing in and pondering. But really, Ikigai concept is based on these 4 actions. There it is. It's probably, I would say, the most important slide that you'll see today. And Ikigai is described as a Venn diagram of 4 circles that come together in the center. That confluence is the magical space. You simply do what you love. You do what you're good at. You do what the world needs. And you do what you can be rewarded for. Notice I didn't say what you can be paid for. What you can be rewarded for. Ikigai is very much a soul connector of your soul to others. And it's kind of like a boomerang, I would describe. It's something that if you can do these 4 steps on a regular basis, then what that does is it provides this beautiful loop of actions that can provide generosity, your generosity to the world. You don't always get paid for that, though. Sometimes you can. And that's something I just wanted to bring to your attention, because when we're thinking about Ikigai, remember, we're thinking of being needs, not necessarily only deficiency needs. Ikigai is essentially you doing more of yourself every single day. And that is a powerful way to be able to take on the world every day. If you have the opportunity to be able to kind of wake up in the morning and you've gone through the steps of exploring, zeroing in, and pondering, and you've identified that you have the magical action of doing something every single day that is going to make a difference, not only to you, but to the world, then that is what Ikigai is all about. So you owe yourself the opportunity to do more you every single day with your Ikigai. So my question is, or probably the question that you're asking yourself right now is, what is my Ikigai? What is your Ikigai? So at this point, I want to see if we can get some help from Sanjeet and see if we can get some people to volunteer and to maybe come on to screen along with me and answer this one simple question. The one simple question is, what do you love to do? Now, those are just that simple question. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But it's extraordinarily hard. So what I hope to do in this portion of this presentation is just talk to a couple of people and see if there's a way that maybe we can identify a couple of actions that are extraordinarily important to you. And maybe those actions are are something that you can pay attention to on a regular basis and see if you can identify it as a specific action. So we have a couple of participants, Sanjeet.
Yep, yep. I think folks who are interested can raise their hands, and then I can, allow them to talk.
I see 3 participants, four participants with their hands raised.
Yeah, we have a lot of Listen,
So,
everyone
yeah,
interested in volunteering, please raise your hand. We'll pick out 3 people at random. Oh, we have a lot of people raising the hands.
I
Can I
think-
pick him right now?
Sure. Yeah. Choose somebody and put them on the screen, as long as they were happy to be on screen.
Perfect. Okay. Rakesh Sharma, I think you were one of the first to raise your hand. So let's go.
Rakesh. Hello, Rakesh. Can I hear you?
Hello. Hi, Tim. This is Rakesh. Yes, I can hear you as well.
It's so nice to talk to you and to meet you halfway around the world. Rakesh, I want to see if you have any insight into that one important question. What do you love to do?
As an individual, I've reached a point where I feel that I'm a person who's an outside person. And what I love to do is to be always on adventure. That's what I really love to do. And I feel that recently there was a questionnaire on what gives you happiness. And then there were many things that people had pointed out. And I realized that what gives me happiness is to be able to communicate to the people who cannot communicate. And I feel even from my perspective, I feel that it is about being the sounding board for people.
What do you have an example that you might be able to give me where you've had that experience?
The way I have seen for myself is that with individuals who I've seen in my presentations that I do, there are people at the backbenchers who are wanting to raise a question, but they actually don't get a chance to raise the question. And I feel that there is inhibitions that prevent them from actually communicating. And at the end of the day, I don't think they have any limitations of not being able to, they don't have any limitations. There is something that holds them back. And I think freeing them up has been some of the important aspects. When I run my company, I see a lot of people joining my company. And I see them change over a period of time. Not just because that I give them knowledge, but I feel that I like to empower them to be who they are so that they don't feel conscious about who they are.
Okay. And
That's the example I have.
How does that feel to you then when you give the voice, help people use their voice to express themselves, but you give them the amplification?
I feel warmth.
Warmth. Do you get to do that on a regular basis?
Yeah, because I'm doing projects with a lot of large companies. My average team age is less than 32, and they talk to a Fortune 500 company, and the VP on the other side is almost 45 years old, fully experienced professional. And in the meetings, they can really carpet them very easily. And that's the time I stand behind them. I am parallel to them on Skype chats when they're in the meeting. I said, you said right, go on. This was okay. I will not come in. You're going in the right direction. And I feel very good after that. They come back and they bounce off some of the thoughts. And now I see that they tell me, do you need me for the meeting? They say, no, Rakesh, we don't need you. Really? So now that really helps me, that a 30 years old experienced guy, 5 years old, he's talking to a 25-year-old professional and can handle meetings, take decisive actions, and implement without me coming into the picture. Okay, I don't want to talk to you, call your boss. It doesn't happen. So now that is a transformation that I see in these young individuals who otherwise would have said, you're not experienced, you'll take another 10 years to reach there. I don't think that's the milestone that they should aspire for.
I'm going to, I hope this isn't an inappropriate question, but how old are you?
I'm 48.
48. Okay. So this is interesting. There's a reason why I asked that question. Rakesh, as adults, we have work to do as well. So the famed, bear with me, I just have to cough. The famed psychologist Carl Jung described that we have 4 stages of adulthood, and he called them athlete, warrior, senator, and spirit. And basically, what he said is that athletes are younger adults whose entire mission in life is to be able to go out there and to be beautiful. It all depends on their body and their ability to be able to kind of take on the world. And beauty and physical prowess has everything to do with their existence at that point in time. But then once they move past that stage, they become a warrior. And a warrior is a person who is essentially at a sufficient enough age to kind of understand what it is that their role is or might be in the world, but they really, really, really want to be able to just knock it out of the park every single time. They want to attach their excellence to their identity. I'm sure you've met a lot of warriors in your time. It sounds to me, in just our very brief conversation, that you may be entering a period where you're senator. And a senator is a person who understands what their abilities are, but they also have the wisdom and the know-how to be able to go, I know that I'm capable of absolutely anything, but what can I do so that I can help you achieve what you need to achieve? And I know that I'm a senator, and I absolutely love that role. But for you to be able to identify that your role as possibly a senator is to amplify the voices of those who need it so that they can excel, that is so admirable. That is so admirable.
Thank
so
you.
I invite you to kind of think in terms and to consider that word and that action to amplify as something that may be part of your Ikigai. Is that fair?
Yes, I'm noting it down, in fact.
Excellent. So, over the months to come, just keep on coming back to that word. And if there's a better word or action that describes what it is that you're passionate about and that you know that you're good at, then by all means, change it. Because as of, I think it was Aditi actually pointed out at the beginning that once you name your Ikigai, give it a name, you assign power and responsibility to it. So I hope that was helpful for you.
Yeah, it was very interesting that you started off with this example of a sports person, because I am a sports person. I am a cyclist, I do marathons, and I play basketball. So I've continued to do that. And I think I've been using most of these experiences into my work life. And I think I feel a lot of synergy in them today. And that's why my approach has been to be the way I am. And I think that has all come because of my adventurous spirit.
There you go. There you go. Consider what we've talked about. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for volunteering.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rakesh. Yeah. So thank you, Rakesh, for volunteering, and thank you, Tim, for, I think, helping us learn more on how to find Ikigai through that conversation. Very useful. We have a lot more hands raised. So next up, Sushma. Sushma, are you there?
Hi.
Hello,
Hi.
Sushma.
How are you, Tim?
I'm very good. I feel like I'm operating a radio talk show right now. First time caller, long time listener. It's very nice to meet you, Sushma.
Nice to meet you too, Tim.
Tell me about what you love to do.
I love art. Art is something that I truly enjoyed when I was young, before I started work. And once I started work in the corporate world for 10 years, I did not explore that side of my personality at all. In the last 1 year, I've started exploring art a lot. And now I truly enjoy working with resin, making resin art.
What was it COVID that kind of pushed you into doing some more things with art?
Yes. So I lost my job because of COVID. We had a mass layoff. My job was affected as well. Instead of going back to the corporate job, I thought maybe I should just explore this side of my personality as well. So I took some time off of my corporate job and I started exploring a lot of things. And one thing I truly enjoyed was resin art. Yeah.
So describe to me what resin art is.
Oh, so in resin art, we use epoxy resin, which is a chemical, which is actually a liquid. So
Mhm.
you mix that resin with additives and colors and pigments, and you let it cure for 24 hours, and then it hardens. It sort of becomes like a
Oh,
plastic. Yeah.
so is it, do you do it in layers then?
Yes. Yes. We do it
Oh,
in
that's
layers.
fascinating. How has your life changed since you've been able to go back to your passion for art? Can you describe that?
Um, I'm a lot more peaceful and joyful.
Mm.
I'm not making any money through this art right now, but in my heart, I know there's a lot of peace. I'm a lot more joyful than I was when I was making a lot of money and I had a corporate job.
Mhm. That
Yeah.
is it. Is it balance that you've found?
I didn't get you. Sorry. What
Is
is it?
it? Do you feel like you're more balanced now that you're able to put more energy and time into art?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Um, I'm a lot more calmer as well. There was a lot
Mm.
of tension that I was putting myself through when I had the job.
Mm.
Um, but I'm a lot more calmer. Yeah. Calm, peace, and joy. Three things that I experience now.
Well, that's worth doing art more often then, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just paying attention to the way that you're describing your experience. And when you
Mhm.
talk about art, when you talk about resin, when you talk about your experience outside of the corporate job, when you're focusing on your work, do you feel like a balance of having a job and work on a regular basis is something that would be beneficial to you? And maybe I better clarify that a little bit more. If you could have a job that would
Mm.
allow you to be able to bring your work to the job, is that something that would be helpful?
Do you mean have a corporate job and do the resin work, or
Yeah,
make?
or even your artistic side. If you could bring more of your artistic, your passion for art into your corporate job, even as just a small portion of it, maybe, a day a week or something along those lines.
It's surprising you asked me that question because that's something that I've been pondering over the last few weeks. It's
Mhm.
like you're in my mind. Yeah. Uh, so this art, as much as I love doing it, it's not really giving me the financial stability that I
Yeah. Mhm.
seek in life. So um, yeah. So one thing with my job was that it's extremely hectic. Like there were no
Mm.
defined work hours. So
Mhm.
um, so uh, the dilemma that I'm going through my mind right now is if I go back to the corporate job, I'll have no time left for art,
Mm.
and it's going to be the same grind again. So I've been thinking through the same question for the last few weeks, a month or so.
There might be
Uh,
something that I'm not hearing a specific action that you can do on a regular basis, like in terms of an ikigai, but I do hear your passion for art and doing it on a regular basis. And for example, I know a doctor here in where I live. He's an acclaimed family doctor, and he's really good at his job. But he's
mhm,
also a world renowned photographer, nature photographer. And
mhm,
the way that this doctor does his day is that when he wakes up in the morning, he
mm,
ensures that from 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning until 12 noon is
mm.
all time for him to do his passionate photography stuff, the stuff that he really loves to do. And then from noon until 8 p.m., that's when he's a doctor. So
That's interesting.
he flipped basically the whole timetable around from where most people might think about it, where you
Mm,
do where you do doctoring from 9 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock, and
mm.
then maybe have enough energy. He flipped it around, so he used all of his good energy in the morning, and then he's able to still be a passionate doctor in the afternoon. So something to think about.
Yes, yes, that's really interesting that you say that. Yeah, that's definitely something to think about.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I've helped you identify anything here, but it sounds to me, though, that you're very happy that you've been able to bring art back into your life and that is making a meaningful difference. And that in itself is riches beyond anything that we could ever imagine.
Yeah. So yeah, the what you suggested, what the story you narrated about the doctor, yeah, that's definitely something that would be my dream life,
Would
where
it?
I get to yeah, yeah, like I get to pursue what speaks to my soul, and I also get to do something that gives financial stability.
So there you
That'll
go.
be
There, maybe there's your action plan over the next year, is to see if there's a way that you can develop that type of a lifestyle.
yes, yes, absolutely, Tim. Yeah,
I hope that was helpful.
it definitely was helpful.
Shishma, it was very nice to talk to you.
Very nice talking to you too, Tim. Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Thank you so much, Sushma. Thanks for being so
Thank you.
honest and speaking up. And thanks, Tim, again. Okay, so we have, okay, Devashish Gangli, I think you were one of the first person to raise a hand. So if you're there.
Hello, how are you, Tim?
Devashish,
Yeah, Tim, how are you?
very good. Thank you. I'm very excited to talk with you here
Hey,
today.
first thing, over here from thousands of kilometers, I'm sending you wishes that your throat gets healed up very fast. My wishes and my
Thank
energy.
you. Thank you very
So,
much.
and now to come up to the humorous question. I hope you will not laugh what I love. I hope you will not laugh.
Everything is game here. Yes. Tell me.
Yeah. Tim, I love sleeping after my lunch. You give me a chance, I would love sleeping after my lunch.
I do the same thing every single
I
day after my lunch.
love it. And second thing that I love, and I love it like hell, having a beer and a discussion with my friends.
Ah.
I would do anytime. I would do anytime.
So tell me about this. Do you have a theory around why you sleep? Would love to sleep after lunch? Do you have a theory why that's so rewarding for you?
Well, what my sleeping pattern is, I sleep only for 8 minutes exactly. I will never sleep for 9 minutes also. 8 minutes. I have been doing it for, yeah. I make a alarm in my mobile. And if I sleep more than 8 or 9 minutes, I will get lethargic. My body starts paining.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly after lunch, you keep me standing also, I can sleep. So that's what I have made myself. But yes, but the moment that 8 minutes comes out, I feel I have come to a different world, and that makes me happy. And you have promised me you will not laugh. That's the reason I'm opening up my book pages to you.
You know what? I'm absolutely overjoyed that you split your days into two like that, because that's the philosophy that I even have. I love to sleep after lunch as well, but I always think of it as splitting my days into two productive halves, because I'm well rested for the first half, and then I have a rest, and then I'm well rested for the second half. So I have two areas of energy. So that's the theory that I have. But I'm really curious about what it is that warms your heart about having a beer with friends. Tell me about that.
We don't care to be hated. We don't care to be loved. In the discussion, I don't need any approval that whether you will love me or hate me for my talks, because we are friends. And in my life, whatever I do in my professional life, everything is meant either for approval or for something. Well, I want everything as approval. So in that time when I'm having my beer with my friends, there is no approval. There's no affirmation. I don't need any yes and thumbs up for the statements I'm making. So that's free flowing.
Is it, do you find that engaging with friends in meaningful conversation, is that something that you love to do on a daily basis? And it's a two-part question. Are you able to do that in your job?
No, sorry, I cannot do that in my job.
You cannot.
Yes, I cannot in the sense, let me rephrase it accordingly. In the job time, that bonhomie is missing. That friendship, that bonhomie is missing. Every statement is uttered with a cause and effect. So in the job field, that bonhomie is missing. But yes, when I come out of my job field and I sit in my society with my friend, with my neighborhood, yeah, that feeling is.
It sounds to me that your job is missing out on a very important part of you.
Yeah, maybe.
And what I mean by that is that, as we know, companies are entities that provide services to other human beings, correct?
Yeah.
So if we are able to have the ability to bring more of ourselves to our jobs, then
Very
that
good.
would be a gift to the company, right?
Absolutely.
So it sounds like that you love the opportunity to be able to engage with your friends on a regular basis. What if you are able to kind of treat the people that you work with and the people that you engage with as maybe customers or whatever the case, as more of friends as opposed to work accomplices or work people, that may bring greater opportunity to you to be able to do more of yourself, but also to reward them with your expertise in being so engaging, because I can tell that you're very engaging.
I know. So that's why my second Ikigai is missing. What I am paid for, I am not yet rewarded. I have not yet been rewarded for. All my life I have been paid for.
Yeah. So
I have never been rewarded.
What I invite you to think about is to just bring more of yourself to work. Choose a handful, choose one or two people that you really, really want to engage with in a meaningful way, and bring that to the business, and see if that is something that helps them and you in a cycle, in a boomerang that says, I'm going to do what I love and what I'm good at. I hope it rewards you, and I hope that it's something that this company needs. It's an act of generosity.
Absolutely true. We'll follow it then.
So the word that I would encourage you to think about, and again, this doesn't have to be the word or the action that is the most important thing to you, but I would invite you to think about your Ikigai as maybe it's to engage.
Yeah, true. That is one thing that I always wanted to do but could not do. You are right.
Do it anyway.
I will. Today, from 20th of October, circa 8:22 p.m. Indian Standard Time, I decide to do it.
I feel like this is a big life-changing moment here. Everybody, oh man, Devashish, very, 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 we're excited for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Let your friends at Plum know if this is something that has been something that's been worthwhile for you. Okay.
Surely. Thanks for giving me that insight.
Talking to you.
Blessings to you and abundance to you, Tim. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much, Devashish. That was really very wholesome. Thank you for being so honest. And Tim, again, I think you've changed another life here. So thank you so much both for that lovely, beautiful conversation.
It's like a radio show, isn't it? So I think we have to kind of move on here in terms of the presentation. Thank you very much for everybody for raising your hands and for wanting to be a part of this conversation. Pardon me. If you think I sound bad now, boy, if you would have only heard me a couple of days ago, that would have blown your mind. So I'm going to move on to the presentation now and to go to the next part. What do you love to do? I really encourage every single person that is taking part today to think about that very, very important question. What do you love to do? And beyond that, what are you good at? Because those types of things are going to profoundly make a big difference to your days every day. Remember, your work now as an adult is to simply explore, zero in, and ponder. Those are the 3 steps that we may not have done in our past that we can do anytime in our lives, but it's going to make a profound difference if we do get the chance to do that. Your work right now in the first stages of your Ikigai is just to answer those 2 questions. I call the first 2 steps of Ikigai your personal steps or your half Ikigai. And that is just simply answer those two questions. What do you love to do? And what are you good at? Once you answer those questions, then you'll start to maybe take those types of actions into consideration on a regular basis, especially if you're doing what you love to do and what you're good at. As we just figured out, Devashish was pointing out that he loves to engage, but Ikigai is an action that we can do on a regular basis. That could include to serve, to create, to nourish, maybe to provide to people, to teach, to heal, to connect, to build. All these words are action words that come with benefits, not only for the individual who is acting them, but also to the world around them. So this is all part of your daily well-being. And there is science in well-being, as demonstrated by this course that is available at Yale University right now. And the good news is, everybody, is that this course called The Science of Well-Being is available through an education platform called Coursera. You can take it for free. The Science of Well-Being course is the most popular, most attended course in the history of Yale University. In fact, prior to COVID, this particular, bear with me, prior to COVID, the Science of Well-Being course would be attended by 1,200 students at a time. And the students called it the most difficult class in all of Yale, because it was essentially a class on happiness and people trying to figure out what it is that they can do in order to be happy. But Dr. Laurie Santos, who is the professor that teaches this class, explains that there are certain actions in our heads and our brains that we think make us happy. And there's plenty of data now to show that things like money, the size of our house, the Gucci handbag, the amount of, how perfect your body is, those types of things, they only have a small, very, very small impact on our overall wellness or on our overall happiness. There's something called a base level of happiness. And if you're happy here today and you buy a new car, sure, you're going to have a little bump, but it only lasts for a little while. And then you return to your base level of happiness. But there are actions that do make you happier. And these have all been identified through multiple studies in the science of positive psychology. If you do an act of kindness, or you do more you do basically share more of yourself with somebody, that can improve your level of well-being and happiness. And it's not just a minor little peak. In fact, one act of kindness, maybe that is simply buying a friend a bouquet of flowers because it's a Monday or a Tuesday, and giving it to them, that can increase your overall level of well-being significantly, and it can last for up to a month. So imagine what would happen if you're able to do that on a regular basis. The next connection, or the type of action that makes you happier, is social connection. In other words, you spend time with your friends and family. You go for that beer after work and you have a meaningful conversation. Those types of things raise your level of well-being significantly. Mind control, this is not hypnotism or anything, but basically the ability to be able to control your own mind and anxiety through actions like meditation and mindfulness. Those types of things actually increase your overall well-being. Healthy habits is a no-brainer, because it means basically you can go out there and have some physical activity, and that's going to provide you with a lot of overall well-being. But probably the most fascinating part of this course that I've learned is something called time affluence. Now, time affluence is essentially means that you are time rich. You are rich enough with your time so that you can choose to do with your time what you want to do with your time. Okay, so in other words, during your job in the daytime, if you're time affluent, you bring more of yourself into your job. And that allows you to do all the things that you want to do within your job. And then the stuff that you do after your job, in your work, that means that you have the opportunity to do all the things that you're passionate about and that helps the world on a regular basis. And this, I think, time affluence is really what the world has come to in terms of the real riches that we all desire, especially after COVID. You know, there's some really significant things that are happening around the world where people are quitting their jobs like crazy because they really want to have more opportunity to be able to do more of themselves. So I really encourage you to bring your Ikigai to your job and to do it on a very regular basis. There are many companies who are starting to do this and to invite this now. In fact, Ernst & Young, which is an accounting firm, this particular office was based in Australia. They offer 12 weeks of life leave to their employees on an annual basis. So every year, their employees are invited to take up to 3 months to do more of themselves. So when you think about it in terms of the stages of adulthood, if you're a young employee and you're 21, 22 years old, that might mean that you take 3 months out of the year and you go traveling and you have experiences and maybe you work on your perfect Instagram account or something along those lines. But it's much different if you're a warrior, because a warrior, yes, you want to be really, really super good at what it is that you have chosen in terms of your field, but you also might have children. And those children require your responsibilities as well and your interaction. So life leave might include you having time to be able to go out and to spend more time with your children. If you get into the senator role, that's much different now, because now you probably have parents who need your help to get to doctor's appointments and to spend meaningful time with them. So you see how life leave and how allowing the opportunity for the employees to be able to do more of themselves on a regular basis can be very, very rewarding. And according to Ernst & Young, their employee engagement went up 11% almost immediately when this initiative was brought along. So I think that there's a lot to be learned from Ernst & Young in terms of going forward, and especially in a world post-COVID. This is Angela Knight. She is my friend here in Calgary. She is a radio announcer, and her job description says that she is supposed to be the on-air help co-host every day on a radio program in the morning. And she talks about weather, and she also tells everybody what the traffic is going to be like. The challenge with that is that, yes, of course, Angela is a great communicator, but she's also a passionate volunteer. So without even asking at her job whether she could start a volunteer group by talking to people on the radio to sign up and to go out and to do something within the community on a weekly basis, that's what she did. So she started something called the CBC Do Crew. And the Do Crew goes out and does things like helps build homes for Habitats for Humanity, or they might harvest community gardens, or they might do painting for a charity or help with the food bank. Those types of things have become so popular and so much of the culture of CBC here in Calgary. Now they've turned into other Do Crew organizations across the country at other CBC organizations. And I think there's 6 or 7 of them now. So just by simply bringing more of herself and job crafting for herself, she was able to do something amazing. So essentially doing more you boils down to those 4 steps of Ikigai. Do what you love, do what you're good at, do what the world needs, and do what you can be rewarded for. Pay attention to the actions that reward you and that are fulfilling for you and that also help others. And if you can identify your action down into just 1 or 2 words, then chances are you're going to be able to remember that and you're going to assign power and responsibility to that. Why is this important? I always get a little emotional when I see this picture because it's a photo of my dad. And at the time he was 90 years old. We were celebrating his birthday. We lit all 90 candles for him. And it was really rewarding to see him just so overjoyed. But I'll also remember November 16th, 2014, because at that time he was 92 years old and he was in the hospital and he was in the very last days of his life. It was November 16th, as I said. It was a gray day. We didn't really have that much light in the hospital room, but I remember holding onto his hand and asking him, I said, do you know what today is? And he said, yeah, I do, Tim. And I said, tell me what you think. And he said, well, today is the day that your mom died. And it's true, 24 years prior to that, my mom passed away on November 16th. And I said to him, do you know what's happening for you right now, Dad? And he says, yeah, I do, Tim. He said, everybody gets a turn. And what he meant by that is that everybody gets a turn to die. And he died the very next day. And in thinking back to that phrase, everybody gets a turn to die. In fact, I think what he meant is that everybody gets a turn to live before you take your turn to die. So that's why Ikigai and doing more of yourself is so important, because if you don't get the most out of life, then what's the reason for living? So my question to you is, what are you going to do with your turn? Are you going to not put the effort into understanding what it is you love to do and what you're good at so you can share it with others? Or are you going to put it into action and to identify what it is that is special about your life and to do more you? That is how you Ikigai. That is it in a nutshell. Just do more you. That's how you Ikigai. And by the way, my Ikigai is simply this: to delight. I love to delight people every single day, and I hope that this session today was exactly that. I hope it was delightful to you, and I hope it was worthwhile, and I hope it was meaningful. I really encourage you all to put the time and effort into being a little bit more selfish for yourself so that you can do more you. Thank you very, very much.